That's what we are talking about. We're talking about citizens who want to demand, and the middlemen who say, we will do it for you. What is the problem with the middlemen? The middlemen have a number of problems. And some of these are problems which you can say apply to middlemen, even the real estate agents and others. It's perhaps a general doba-doba problem, perhaps. One is inefficiency. Inefficiency. You are lengthening the chain of accountability. Because you have, when you have the citizen has to go through this person has to go through there. So in terms of the time and cost, so if citizens in a village here are demanding a change in the way the local magistrate's court is being run, there is a difference between those citizens marching to the court and demanding to see the clerk and saying we want A, B, C, D, E done, between that and a situation where the citizens are approached by an NGO, which then takes statements, and then the NGO contacts its headquarters in Blantyre or Lilongwe, says we have an issue here in Chirazulu, and there perhaps they say, well, but we need funding. How are we going to travel there? And then forms are filled, etc. You get the story. Having a middle person lengthens the process, increases the cost. Second is what I would call mixed agendas. Mixed agendas. As long as you have a middle person or middleman, they will also have their own agenda. And so NGOs and others which are fighting for accountability and good governance, they will also have their own agendas, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are institutions, and institutions have agendas. The trouble comes when this agenda may not necessarily align with the agenda of the person who is demanding. So again, we could elaborate that, but I think because a lot of these are analogies from the economic market, I think we are quite familiar with what I'm talking about here. So if, for example, I have an NGO which says I work for judicial independence and accountability, and you say, please, can you go and say we want the Chief Justice to resign? And let's suppose I am the Malawi Law Society. So the Blantyre people are saying, you, chair of Law Society, go and demand that the Chief Justice should resign. And I say, I look at my diary and I have a case before the Chief Justice on Friday. These people are saying, Wednesday, go and demand. Point number 3. Is what I call the lost in translation problem. The lost in translation problem. I'm sure you have played this game where, I don't know, if you haven't played, it's a very interesting one. If 6 of you, somebody whispers, and somebody whispers. That's the language the people have used, because the people have very little to lose. That's rubbish, tell him to step down now or come and stone him. And tomorrow we read a press release from the is expressing reservations in the manner in which this office is being discharged, and would therefore be appreciative of any considerations towards relinquishing the, you know, sometimes middlemen can take out the bite. I call this the lost in translation problem. And then there is the dependence syndrome, which we are all aware of. Sometimes you can become too dependent on middlemen. I'm sure that those of us in the room who have played this role one way or the other get this. I can almost share a little personal story myself. I retired, as you heard, and therefore I'm less active in engaging in public debate and so on. And one of the constant questions I get is, masiku anu simukuyankhula atu. Simukutiyankhulira ya, yatsogolere. Yatsogolere ndani. Yeah, the expectation that somehow I am a citizen, but there is someone else who will do this citizen thing for me. It goes beyond judicial accountability. A lot of what I'm saying here are, in fact, just they manifest themselves with respect to judicial accountability, but it's a general problem with democratic governance and the demand side. So the other problem with the middleman is the dependent syndrome. And you know, when you have a dependent syndrome, it can be hard. And let me just, as a little footnote, say dependence is bad, but they are beneficiaries. There will always be beneficiaries. And that is why we have to ask ourselves, and I think this is a question we have to ask ourselves honestly and have candid answers. We started by noting that we have had this constitution for 30 years. For the past 30 years, a lot of NGOs and others, and as I said, a lot of them are well-meaning, but they have been going out into the field. One of the themes has been to educate, and you know the word that's going to follow, the masses. Educate the masses. Empower. 30 years. Why are they not yet empowered? Why, after 30